All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The best way that you can help grow the show is to subscribe to Locked On Capitals on YouTube and comment anything down below. So in this section, we'll talk about the Capitals and why they won't name a number one netminder. And, my thoughts on it, and my thoughts on it, to be clear, have kind of changed. They've evolved over the season just based on the performance of Logan Thompson, the performance from Charlie Lindgren, and I think that the Capitals should keep rolling with LT. Why won't they do it? Why is there reluctance? Well, I have some thoughts on it. Also, some insiders have their thoughts on it as well. So let's dive into that. It's a thrilling time for the Capitals, who are sitting atop of the NHL right now. All of the NHL, not the Metro, not the Eastern Conference, first place, the most points. A huge part of our success can be credited to the exceptional play from Logan Thompson and Charlie Lindgren. And the interesting thing about the netminding situation for the Caps is that both Logan Thompson and Charlie Lindgren are in contract years. And what are some of the things that we heard from Elliot Friedman is the Capitals are all in on an LT Chucky combo for the long term. My assessment on it is that it is not going to be the case. I think that Logan Thompson is due for a huge raise. I think the Capitals would be extremely foolish not to give him what he wants, just seeing how he plays out on the ice. And unless Charlie Lindgren is willing to take kind of a substantial pay cut, or not a raise, shall we say, I think that probably Charlie Lindgren will go out and try to seek greener pastures. And being that the Capitals have a viable option in Hunter Shepard or Clay Stevenson in-house in the American League, or if they wanted to go outside the organization for a cheaper option, that is where we're at. Now, the goaltending free agency situation. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Both of the netminders, like I said, will be unrestricted free agents next summer, and it's expected they'll be looking for some significant raises. But so far, there hasn't been much chatter about contract extensions for either LT or Lindgren. Pierre LeBrun, though, from The Athletic, has mentioned the Capitals management is treading carefully. And why is that? Because I don't think they want to tip their hand in case they can't get an LT deal done. What if they can't afford to keep him around here? All of a sudden, Charlie Lindgren looks like a consolation prize, and I don't think the optics of that are too good. They might want to extend one goaltender without the other, as they could throw a wrench into the team's dynamics. And at this point, chemistry is of utmost importance. You take a look at the team and how they're performing, any negative energy could definitely derail their progress. Now, the good news is that they are in discussions with both player agents, seem hopeful that at least one will be inked to a new deal. And what is head coach Spencer Carbery's strategy has been keeping things balanced in net by splitting playing time between Thompson and Lindgren. But as we get to this juncture of the season, and considering how well Logan Thompson has played, why do you want to go to Charlie Lindgren? Unless you saw something in Logan Thompson's game that indicates that he shouldn't be in there, I would keep rolling with a hot hand there. But speaking of Thompson, how about his recent performance? He is killing it out there. And analysts project the next contract could land him a 4-year deal worth around $22.56 million, averaging about $5.64 million per year. How much is he making this year? Around $775,000. My, that is quite a raise. Are the Capitals that all in? I would be. I think that Ted Leonsis is going to have to crack open the piggy bank and get this one done. He's certainly making a case for himself also as a potential Vezina Trophy finalist. Now, on the other hand, Lindgren's numbers, well, they're not quite at Thompson's level. He's still been a valuable player for us, recording a 10-8-2 record into 2.65 goals against and a .901 save percentage. He hasn't looked as good as of late before the injury. He was a real asset in the playoff run last year, and it looks like he could be in line for a 2-year extension worth about $7.9 .94, averaging to around 3.97 mil per year. So you take a look at the 5.64 of LT for annually per year, and you take a look at the 3.97 million per year for Charlie Lindgren, considering the other players that they need to account for. I'm talking about Chychrun, I'm talking about Dowd, all these different players out there that they're going to try to get some of those players back here as well. So it's easy to say, well, just give both the netminders whatever they want. Well, that's not going to leave a lot of money to spare. Also, another player that is due for us a substantial raise is Jacob Chychrun. So everything needs to be in balance, and Chris Patrick is most definitely going to be put to test, and how he's going to balance the budget. As we look forward, it seems the Caps have no plans to make either goaltender before the season wraps up or ink them to a new deal before the season wraps up. Rather, Elliot Friedman from Sportsnet has suggested that while we might not keep both guys long-term, neither of them is on the trading block right now, of course. But there are certain teams that might come a knockin', and I think one team, in particular, I might be talking about the Pittsburgh Penguins. What are they struggling with right now? Net minding. Would the Capitals ever entertain an idea of sending someone like Charlie Lindgren to Pittsburgh? That's not the only team, but that is one of the teams that is struggling in net. I know that things are a little bit better for them now, I think, with Nedeljkovic and Blomqvist. But I think that they, a lot like other teams could be looking for an upgrade. But the good news is the Caps will hold exclusive negotiating rights with Thompson and Lindgren until July 1st. My hunch is that LT gets an expensive deal, Charlie Lindgren does not, and they roll with either Hunter Shepard or Clay Stevenson next year, or the only other possible option is they go get kind of a snarled old vet outside of the organization. But an interesting time for the Capitals. As far as the Caps are concerned, they are riding high now. I do not recall a time in recent memory where they had the most points in all of the NHL. I remember them being atop of the Metro or maybe the Eastern Conference, but the most points in all of the NHL, that's quite something. I understand that the Winnipeg Jets will be playing games here and they could, match what the Capitals have. But in this moment right now, let's live happy in a vacuum. The Capitals are on top of the world. All right. Once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, your only daily year-round podcast covering the Washington Capitals. And I want to thank all of you that listen on the audio side and watch this on YouTube. You are what makes this show successful. All right. Once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team every day. My name is Dan Holme, and I'll talk to you again next time.